A man and a woman are kissing next to a lady. The boy starts taking various precious things from the purse of the woman he is kissing. After he manages to take all the money from the woman who is actually mute, he tells the other to go away very furious. The woman walks away quickly and desperately tries to close her purse. And then she keeps walking, passes a car and goes behind a tree and takes her cell phone, dials a number and makes the call desperately. Soon the boy is making a statement to the woman he just stole, saying he loves her very much. And suddenly his cell phone starts ringing, and he says he's going to answer it. He asks the girl to wait and answers the phone. On the call it was the other woman who is actually his wife, saying that she doesn't like it when he is with another woman, and he says they need money, and she asks how they are going to get into the house, and he says he gave her the key, and she says she is very nervous. He tells her to go in quietly and make sure no one sees her and go straight to the kitchen drawer and get all the money. So she desperately agrees. At that moment the other woman comes close and takes the cell phone from his hand to see who he was talking to. And she can't hear anyone talking, and the boy desperately takes the cell phone from her hand as it falls to the ground and asks her to calm down. Soon the desperate woman in black walks towards the house. Soon, she arrives slowly so that no one suspects her, and hidden she arrives at the house and warns a boy who is blind. When she enters, it makes a noise and the boy ends up listening and asking who was there. While she tries to move on, the boy asks if she is his sister who was there, and the woman comes in and moves things on the table making noise, and the boy starts to get desperate. And he goes towards her and she sees dodging him. Then he goes in the opposite direction of her and she goes looking for the money. The boy goes towards her and she dodges again. She goes looking everywhere in the house. And she keeps dodging the blind boy. At that moment she finds the drawer that her lover had talked about, takes a garbage bag and starts taking all the money from the drawer and putting it inside the garbage bag, while the blind boy is screaming desperately. At the end, the woman dodges the boy again, and ends up screwing the bag with the money on the table and is desperate. And then she ends up dropping the bag and leaving it in the kitchen in despair. Meanwhile, the blind boy keeps looking, and at that moment the mute sister and her boyfriend appear to calm him down. The dumb sister tries to calm her blind brother. The brother keeps saying that he had someone in the house and that they were stolen. The boyfriend pretends to be surprised. The girl starts to get desperate and the boyfriend immediately says that she can't stay and ends up putting the girl out and asking her to calm down. And then he yells at her to stay calm and saying he'll take care of her brother. While the girl is desperate, he says he will solve it. The boyfriend slowly enters the house. Inside the house is the desperate mistress. When the man appears, she asks where he was and he asks her to step aside. The two get desperate and she says she wants to get out of there, and he asks what's going on and then he asks where the money is. She explains that the money fell and got stuck because the boy was going after her, hitting her with his cane. The lover is very angry because she left the money and she says it was because he was after her. And then he asks her to calm down, holding her, and she starts hitting him, saying that she wants to leave that place, and he says that he will solve it. He gets up and looks around desperately, when suddenly he looks down and notices the bag with the money. And then he takes it and unscrews the bag and takes it. At that moment, the blind boy hears something and prepares himself. He prepares himself enough to hit the boy who was below, and when he was about to hit the other one, he gets up, startling, and the man catches the blind boy holding him and takes him away into the room and lock the door, and the boy is knocking on the door while the man is nervous, looking this way and that. So he calls the woman, and the woman in such a perky way tries to get free, until he yells at her and asks her to pay attention. He says the girl is waiting for him outside and then tells her to run out the window and meet him in the car, and he tells her to go and she runs off. He stands there looking from one side to the other and goes towards the door to open for the girl to enter. When he's going to open it, he has an idea. He looks back and sees a piece of wood on the table, and doesn't think twice before hitting himself to pretend that something happened. Leaving outside, he asks the woman to calm down and says he was beaten inside. The woman is desperate and then he tells her to go help her brother and she goes in desperate. And then he stands outside. When he stops pretending, he grabs a pair of glasses and puts them on, and he leaves all smiling. As he leaves, he finds his lover jumping out the window and he goes to help her out. He asks if the money is there and she agrees and asks her to be quiet and calm down, and then the two leave. Already inside the car, the two celebrate a lot. And when the woman is going to start the car to leave, a policeman appears. The cop says they know why he's stopping them. They say they don't know why they are stopping them. The policeman says that the car has no license plate and the man asks who he is, and the policeman says he is the sergeant of the 1st Battalion in the neighborhood. They start laughing at the policeman and say he doesn't believe it. The police officer seriously asks for the documents for them, and then the guy says he doesn't have any documents. And they say they are already leaving the vehicle. And so they start the car to try to escape, but the policeman immediately comes back and asks what they think they were doing and asks them to get out of the car, and he immediately asks for support for the battalion headquarters. Previously in the house that was robbed, the blind boy contacts the police and asks them to attend as soon as possible. The attendant confirms and then he hangs up the phone. Once out of the car, the two are complaining to the police that the sun is too hot. And meanwhile, the girl who was robbed gets in the car and exchanges the bag of money for another bag and drives off. And they're apologizing to the cop because they just left a party and apologized to the cop. The policeman says that this time he will let it go and that he could arrest them for contempt. And they agree with him. He says they won't be arrested anymore, the car will be left behind, and that to remove the car it has to be a person with a driver's license to remove it, and says that they are released. And then the man asks if he can take something out of the car and the policeman agrees. The man goes to the car to get the bag. He takes the bag and is happy and thanks for being able to successfully take the money. They say goodbye to the policeman and leave. Later, the two are standing in the street thanking him for calming down, and the man is worried about the car and the woman says it wasn't their car to worry about, and the man says it was a lot of work to get the car and the woman says it is, quickly get another one, and they are very happy with the money they took and they open the bag. He puts the bag on top of another car and when they open it, surprise! There was only weeds inside the bag and they get very irritated and wonder where the money is. The man asks the woman and she slaps him in the face saying that they were deceived, and the man starts crying and the woman gets very nervous and complains a lot. Some time later, at home, the two brothers are in a hospital, when suddenly the sister takes the blindfold off the eyes of the brother who underwent eye surgery, and when she takes it off he has a surprise and is very happy. And then he hugs his sister very happily. And then the brother asks if she's okay and she puts her head down saying yes. and he's amazed that he can see things now. The mute sister sends him a sign saying she loves him.